Earl McGrath was a tastemaker, plugged into the world of art, music, and poetry. He was a scene maker who connected people from different worlds. Earl was close friends of Joan Didion and Angelica Houston. He was friends with Cy Twombly. He was friends with Andy Warhol, Ahmet Ertegun of Atlantic Records, a whole galaxy of luminaries. In the 1960s and 70s, if you were a Mick Jagger and you wanted to meet Robert Rauschenberg or Ed Ruscha, Harrison Ford, or Steve Martin, you could go to Earl's house. The parties were fun and legendary.
So after I interviewed him, I was invited by the estate back to his apartment to look at photographs that his wife had taken and use them for my book. And I was wandering around the apartment, as one does, snooping, and I walked into the closet and there were piles of records. And up high above the door were 3 shelves filled with reel-to-reel tapes. And I thought, oh my God, what are these tapes? And the first tape I pulled off was a master tape to side 2 of Some Girls by the Rolling Stones. And I remember that moment very vividly because I just broke into a sweat. I mean, these are amazing historical documents of a lost world that nobody knows about.
From these extraordinary discoveries came the idea for Earl's Closet, the lost archive of Earl McGrath, 1970 to 1980, a double album of rare recordings found inside Earl's apartment. Earl fell into the record business. He had no real expertise as an A&R man, but Ahmet Ertegun loved his companionship and offered him his own label. And so, Earl started Clean Records.
He wasn't like a great record executive, and he really drove the label into the ground within like 2 or 3 years. But he did happen to discover Hall & Oates.
And all you gotta say is, baby, come closer. Baby, come closer. Won't you move closer? Baby, come closer.
Well, here's the tape that I found. And it said Hall & Oates because I think that was their initial band name. The lead track on the record is Delbert and Glenn. The theme of the song is the theme of the album. 2 More Bottles of Wine is it's a true story of Delbert McClinton moving from Texas to LA to try to make it in the music business, kind of not getting anywhere, and he finds himself sweeping out a warehouse in West LA. And as long as they have 2 more bottles of wine, they can get through. And that song was later recorded by Emmylou Harris, and a lot of people know it as her song. And there's a kind of raw purity to them, and like you're a fly on the wall at a real moment.
Thought I'd be a star by the day, but I'm sweeping out a warehouse in West LA. But it's alright, cause it's midnight and I got 2 more bottles of wine. Yeah, it's alright, cause it's midnight.
In the late 70s, Mick Jagger hired Earl to run Rolling Stones records, and that's when Earl signed the Jim Carroll Band.
Gave me their words, it was just like a radio, but I knew the voices.
This is the Jim Carroll track that's on the album, Tension, and it says from Wally's, and that's Wally Hyder's recording the studio in San Francisco. And this has got an interesting story. First of all, it's a really killer track, super rocking, and it didn't end up on any of their albums in this form. It was later remade and retitled as Voices, and ended up on the soundtrack to a James Spader movie in the mid-'80s. And so this is a very different version, a much more punk version.
But they failed to mention tension. Well, I'm going to California, gonna leave tomorrow. We're leaving this town and all of this sorrow behind me.
I knew that I was onto something really incredible when I found tapes like this, which was like a Terry Allen recording that he made in the late 60s. And it says To Earl on it. This tape is just a recording that Terry makes just sitting in a room somewhere. There was something so great because that there's no producer in this room. There's no self-awareness. It's just like, this is the real thing. I'll never forget the night that I put this tape on. All it says on it is Blood Brothers 6. We didn't know what this was. This group doesn't come up on any Google searches. There was just no way of finding out who the Blood Brothers 6 were. I tried, trust me. And I had my friends sitting around the living room, and I'll never forget my friend Lucy Sant, and she said, I would listen to an entire album of the Blood Brothers 6.
Funky, funky but chic. Funky, funky but chic. Funky, funky but chic. Oh, funky butt, funky butt.
These New York Dolls tapes were amazing. They were kind of very primitively recorded, and what I later found out is from David Johansen is that they were rehearsal tapes that he probably left at Earl's one night when he was over there socializing. He was like, oh, Earl, listen to my latest thing. And he left them there. Earl probably listened to them, and it didn't go anywhere. But David Johansen got a record deal, but just not with Earl. But they're really wonderful because when nobody's looking, the band is just rehearsing with themselves. There's a special kind of magic to that. You also get a sense of the original intent.
Of course, Earl is the muse of the entire record, which is a journey through the cultural waters that Earl was swimming in. It's a private world, from 1970 to 1980, where you meet a menagerie of different artists, like a great party at Earl's house. It's a series of left turns. 1 minute you're in folk, the next you're in rock and roll, soul, country, funk, glam. A tour through the fantastic discoveries found inside Earl's closet.
Open